Hello, I'm going to try and do little videos like this every week. There might be some weeks where I'll miss doing them, but I'm going to try and do ones this week so you get a little bit of an introduction to what we're trying to do for the week in a face-to-face format. Uh, these are not going to be terribly high quality, but you can watch them or not watch them. It's up to you. I will be glancing over at my notes a few times, so that's what the little glances are all about. First thing I wanted to say is that I did add a tool to the left-hand margin navigation bar of the course. It's called Glossary. So what we can do with that particular tool is add terms that are related to creative nonfiction, and we can define the terms there, maybe even reference a few articles and so on. I did already add one term there, blurred genre, which I mentioned in one of the posts, and so you can check that out. You will be able to add terms and I will be adding some terms also. So look for the glossary tool. Hope that will be useful for us. In terms of the discussion board, great discussions this week. People are very active and they're saying good things, so congratulations for that. One of the things you probably have noticed is it's going to be real easy, especially as the course progresses, for us to get real bogged down and mucked up in a particular discussion board because there are going to be a lot of posts on there. I want to encourage you to look for that mark as read button at the bottom of each post. So once you get through reading somebody's post, you can mark it as read, and that will at least allow you to not reread the same post over and over again. The other thing that I want to encourage you to do is feel free to start a new thread, because sometimes important points get missed because they're buried way down in a thread that has a chain of about 20 replies to it. So if you feel like there's a new topic you want to introduce or on some new idea and you don't want it to get lost, feel free to go ahead and start a thread. For this week, we're going to be reading three things. Mary Karr's The Past Vigor, which is the first chapter out of her book on memoir, which came out in the last year. It's called The Art of Memoir. Mary Karr is one of the better known creative nonfiction writers around, best known for The Liars Club, which is a memoir about growing up in an alcoholic family. There are a lot of memoirs out there about growing up in an alcoholic family. No big surprise there. The other second essay that we'll read is Patrick Madden's The Infinite Suggestiveness of Common Things. I was able to meet Patrick Madden at the River Teeth Nonfiction Conference last summer. It's been a little bit of time talking to him. He is a huge Montaigne fan. Montaigne is the 17th century essayist who has basically started the genre of the personal essay. So that's his creation. He is the first person in history to do that. And Patrick Madden very much likes, well, he's a huge fan of Montaigne, reads Montaigne over and over and over again, and writes very much in the style of Montaigne. So reading his essay will give you a feel for what Montaigne's essays are like. One of the things that Patrick Madden says is he doesn't particularly like narrative. That might be a little surprising for you. You might think that a personal narrative has to be, a personal essay has to be about narrative, or it has to be structured as a narrative. Patrick argues that it can be very thematically structured, and that's what Montaigne did. So pay attention to that as you're reading his essay. The third essay we're going to read is an essay from Claudia Rankine's Citizen, which came out in the last year and has been getting a lot of attention. This is a collection, a multimodal, multimedia collection of essays and poems and scripts of videos about the issue of race. And I'm going to do something that will be a little hard to coordinate here because it's not real hard to position things on the camera, but I wanted to just give you a sense of what some of the multimedia features of her book are. So now there you see, there's the cover for her book. It's an interesting cover because that's a detached hoodie or detached hood from a hoodie there, which is kind of a real symbolic issue relating to some of the shootings of young black men. But what I wanted to try and show you, and I don't know how easy this is going to be, getting a little dizzy there. This is one of the poems in the book, and what might be a little difficult for you to see, but you'll get a little bit of a sense for it. The poem is repeating the phrase in memory of, and that it will have a series of names. These are all names of young black men who have been shot by police. And as you move toward the bottom of the page, the names drop off and the density of the ink starts to fade. So, I mean, it's a very visual poem that basically says our memory about the shootings of young black men fades pretty quickly. So I just wanted to show you how visual and even something like a poem is in her book. I really encourage you to, if you get a chance, you're in a bookstore, try and find a copy of it and just glance through it. As I mentioned, one of the things she does is include scripts for short videos about race. These are videos where she collaborates with John Lucas, who's her husband. I included a link to one of those videos, so I encourage you to watch that video and get a sense of what their video work is like also. Okay, have a good week, and I'll check in next week.